Hello everybody, this is Undead Viking coming to another one of my video reviews. Hey, how you doing today? Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that you're good, poor, cruddy, excellent, amazing, or what have you. I'm doing pretty good right now, and you know why I'm doing pretty good right now? Because I finally got to play a game that is a grail game for me. Something that I've wanted to play for a long time. A game that slipped through my fingers, if you will. After I had heard about how awesome it was and I had had a scant window to purchase it, I, for whatever reason, was a fool and did not. And it's something I've been seeking for a long time. But now, due to the wonderment of the Kickstarter program, the game is going to be republished. The game in question is Tammany Hall. Now, Tammany Hall, I'll give you the nuts and bolts really quickly. Tammany Hall is a game for 3 to 5 people. It is set in the 1850 to 1870s in New York, a time when many immigrants were coming to the U.S. from Europe. And the game is about each player being a powerful political figure in New York at that time, and they're attempting to curry favor with the immigrants and become the most prominent political figure with power and prestige and money that over everybody else. Now, the game itself is all about negotiation and shrewd management of your resources, and also currying favor between not only the immigrants and what have you that are on the board, but also creating favor with your friends, because it's all about convincing people to work with you in working against somebody else. Now, this game is being reprinted by Pandasaurus Games. It's currently in the Kickstarter program. It has already been funded, and it has been out of print for a long time. It came out in 2007, I believe. And there were 2 versions of it, and there was an extremely limited print run, like right around maybe a total of 750 copies between the 2 separate printings. I might be a little off on that figure, but it's right around that amount. And it got a groundswell of appreciation, if you will. And when I heard about it, it had long since gone through its print run, and there were just a few copies out there, and I never got one. And I always heard about the game being excellent and being awesome and just being a heck of a lot of fun. And it seemed right up my alley because of the fact that it's all about that negotiation aspect. And I really, really enjoy negotiation games. So when the person that, and you were saying, well, you have a copy, right? On the back, you just held it up. This isn't fake. Yeah, it is a real box. It is, it's got components and stuff in it. See if there's rules and baggies with stuff in there. So you're like, well, that's a game. So what do you mean it slipped through your grasp? Well, actually, this isn't my game. This game is actually the publisher, the person who runs Pandasaurus Publishing, was kind enough to actually send me his precious copy of his own game. He loved this game so much that he actually got the rights to republish it, and now he successfully funded it through Kickstarter, and now he's going to put the game out. Now, I'm going to show you how to play Tammany Hall. I've played it now probably well over a dozen times. And 1, I'm really thankful I finally got to play this game. And 2, I'm really going to show you just how great this game is. So, as always, I'm going to show you how to play the game. It's for 3 to 5 people. You can play it in about 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. As people learn how to play the game, it goes very, very quick. There isn't a lot to the game as far as the mechanics and the rules, but there is a ton to the game as far as what lies beneath that little shallow veneer, if you will, of the nuts and bolts of the game. So, without further ado, let me show you how to play Tammany Hall. Okay, this is the board for Tammany Hall. I don't know exactly what the board is going to look like with the reprint, and for that matter, I don't know exactly what the components are going to be for the reprint, but I can only assume it's going to be something fairly similar, if not exactly the same. Now, if I had to say one thing about the board that I wish was slightly different, due to the fact that the board is an area control game, and you're trying to control these different wards, and you can see there's these numbers on the wards to signify which one. The numbers really don't matter much, other than the fact that those are the wards that you can refer to them during the game, like I'm going out to Ward 13, or I'm going out to Ward 8, and so on and so forth. And you can see that there are different colors, and that really doesn't matter either, other than the fact that they're using that to kind of set them off as far as, like from the ones that are surrounding it. Now, you do run into, I think maybe it could be my eyesight or just my personal opinion, there is these large black lines here that separate Area 1, 2, and 3, but the actual colors that separate the wards, in some situations, kind of mute together. I mean, and so, first couple times we played the game, there were players that actually didn't even really realize that, like, say, this little section right here was a ward. They didn't even know that was there until somebody actually placed a worker or a ward boss in that location. They're like, I didn't even know that spot was there, kind of thing. So, but, it's... Maybe they'll change it up, maybe they won't, but it's still very functional, and that's a very, very minor nitpick. I've already set the game up for a 5-player game. In a 5-player game, all of the locations, the 1, 2, and 3, all of the wards have an immigrant in each one. The immigrants are designated by the colors here of white, green, and orange. There is a 4th color, blue, and that are the Italian immigrants. And Italians, as the game begins, and here's like a blue cube, in the beginning of the game, the Italians are not represented in any of the wards. And as you can see over here, there is actually, you can see the green, the white, the orange, and the blue on the side. I should also note that, like, every single thing about this board, all of the rules that you need to play the game are actually on the board. And some games, that's kind of a detraction as far as, like, you're trying to read the board, and maybe it is not the best of choices, but in this one it really is. It even has the setup over here. It tells you what cubes you use, and randomly these are placed, but it tells you how many and which colors are used. And there's like the scoring after each election, the sequence of play right here, the city office list, everything that they can do is listed, and I really like that, as it makes the game really easy to teach. And I mean, it helps that the rule set is quite small for this game, but it works very, very well. So, now then, after all that, how do you play the game? The game is, like I said, very, very simple. Each person, and there are up to 5 players, as I said, and each person, you determine a first player, just like you would in any other game. You can roll, you can draw randomly, you can play rock, paper, scissors, or whatever, and each person has these little ward bosses. I don't really like the fact that there's a black and a brown, especially when they get on this board, the tan colors, they do kind of maybe get lost, but it's once again a minor quibble. But they use the brighter colors to designate the different the different immigrants, so the Irish, English, German, and Italian. So I guess this is just the colors that were left, and this is what he used, and hey, they work. But anyway, after determining who the first player is, play continues clockwise around the board, and they're on the first turn of the game, and you can see that there's a year marker here, 1, 2, 3, 4. The game has 16 turns. In the first 4 turns of the game, the gameplay is remarkably simple because, and I just dropped that guy, because of the fact that some of the options that you have available to you don't come up until after the first election. So right now, the only thing that you can do is you populate, at the beginning of each year, you populate Castle Garden, which is, you can't quite see the whole thing, but it's this spot right here. Castle Garden is where the new immigrants show up. And you draw, out of this cloth bag, you can hear them, you draw a number of cubes equal to the number of players plus 2, and you place them in this location. So we'll draw those right now. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Alright, so there we go. We have 2 blue, 3 green, an orange, and a white. Now, when it is your turn, let's just say it's yellow's turn, you have the option of either placing 2 ward bosses in any locations that have a cube present in them. If you're playing with less than 5 people, the entire city won't be available to you right away. You'll have less. But in this situation, we have the entire city. So you can place up 2 ward bosses on the board, or you can place 1 ward boss. You can take one of the available cubes that is over here, and then you place both that cube and one of these ward bosses in any location. They don't have to be in the exact same spot. And if you placed a cube, you get a political favor chip of the same color. So, for example, let's just take yellow. Yellow, this is the Tammany Hall spot, which is worth 2 victory points if you win that election. So, yellow puts that down there. He's going to take this green cube, and he's going to place that green cube on Tammany Hall as well. And then, because he took a cube and placed it, he takes a green political favor chip. And then play continues. So let's say, purple is up next. Purple decides he wants this spot right here. He's going to take another white cube, place it there, and so forth. Now brown goes, and let's say brown decides he wants to place 2 ward bosses for whatever reason. And he wants to maybe make a play for Tammany Hall. So he's going to place 2 ward bosses here. In elections, the number of ward bosses you have in each location is worth a vote. So he's trying to cement his control of that location. So now it's red's turn. Red will go. Red places that there. He's going to take another orange, put it down there, take that political favor. And finally black goes, and black's going to place one here. He's going to take one of the green guys that are available and take that. And that's it. That's your first year. You move to the next year, and you do it again. So then the same exact thing happens. You place either 1 ward boss and take a cube, or so on. It should be noted that if you ever run out of these, after the last one's taken, you will draw new ones out of this spot. So so sometimes there's like a calculated situation where you're trying to decide, do I leave that, if there's 1 cube there, do I leave that cube in there and place 2 war bosses, so you make the other person take like maybe the cube that you don't really want, and so they repopulate the area, and so then you have more options available to you as far as placing the immigrants and so forth. So I mean, that's one of those things that it does come back. Now, that continues on. And I'm not going to place all the people on all the locations, but until the 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, and then bam, it is the 4th year, and now you are going to hold elections. Now, to hold elections, the first thing you do is you start in the very first spot of section 1, and you will count the number of ward bosses of the different colors. So let's just, for the sake of argument, after that first turn of the game, yellow ended up placing those 2, and red placed that there. And also, amongst the course of the game, in that particular square, these immigrants placed. I'm just dropping these at random here. So there are 3 white, 2 green, an orange, and a blue. So now everybody who's in contention for this location, yellow, purple, and red, will count up the political favor chips that they have. And as long as there is a cube of the color of the political favor chip that they have, they're allowed to spend these to gain more votes. Now, normally right now, if everything just went and nobody spent any, yellow's going to win because they have 2 ward bosses and they have 2 votes in that location. So now, but like let's just, for example, let's say that purple, had these 4 chips, and let's say yellow had those, and let's say purple just had at his disposal, he actually had quite a few. Maybe he collected a bunch, and so they have all those. So right now, purple knows, because this is common knowledge, you have to declare how many discs you have available to you that you can spend in those locations. And purple knows that if he spends every single one of his discs, he's going to take that location. But maybe purple, still has a person up here in the Tammany Hall location, or many other locations. And so he wants to maybe hold on to his discs. And now here's where the fun game of bluffing and negotiation happens, where yellow might say, hey, if you guys don't try to take this from me, I won't, vote. I won't put any chips in for Tammany Hall in the middle. And then, like red goes, well, I don't trust you, I'm going to do it anyway. And so you go and kind of go back and forth. And if you ever played a game with blind bid, what happens is everybody puts their hands in like this. And then after they decide how many chips they're going to, they go 1, 2, 3, and you reveal. You count up the number of votes, and whoever has the most votes, counting both their ward bosses and the number of chips that they use, they take that location. Whatever chips you put into a blind bid, you lose. Even if you lost the election, you lose your chips. So you got to make sure that these discs that you use up, you got to make sure that you don't spend them unwisely, if you will. So after all is said and done, let's say purple just won that one. You take off all the ward bosses except for the one that actually won, and now purple has control. The cubes stay in the middle. A lot of people say, oh, so like, a lot of people have the misconception, I should say, that like, oh, if I curried the favor of say, the English, because they're the white cubes, that means it's worth 3 votes. No, the number of immigrants in the location, actually, it does matter, but it doesn't matter at all for this vote. Now, there's one other thing I'm going to tell you. Now, you do that for each one of these wards, and I didn't populate all of them because it would just be lengthy, and the process would be very tedious to show each and every election. But you'll notice, for one, to decide how the elections are done, you start in this location 1-1, and there are these little arrows, and then you go to here, and you go to here, and you go to here, here, and then here. And after you're done with all of section 1, you go to section 2. In section 2, you start here, and you go here, 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 here. And section 3, you go here, 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 here. And you do that for every single location. There's one other thing before I go any further. You'll notice in section 1, there are these waterfront wards. And you'll notice that there's these little tiny things where there's a cube and there's discs on these little spots here. If you win these spots, you immediately get, if it's a cube, you get a cube of any color from the bag that you immediately get to place anywhere on the board. So maybe there's a spot where, like, here, where there are no Italians, but you have a lot of blue discs that you want to have to vote. So you could take a blue square, place it there, so now you have access to using your political favor in that location. And as you probably guessed, the ones with the discs, after you take that location, you immediately get to take a disc of any color you want. So these are very prime locations, and Tammany Hall, of course, because it's worth 2 victory points after the elections are done. And you can see where, people are going to be, fighting over these locations. So after all is said and done, each person gets 1 victory point for each one of these wards that they've won. And as I said, Tammany Hall, whoever wins this, gets 2 victory points. Secondly, it should be mentioned that each one of these locations that you won is worth 1 vote towards being the mayor. So whoever controls the most wards, Tammany Hall is still worth 1, even though it's worth 2 victory points, but it's still worth 1. Whoever has the most becomes the mayor, and they immediately score 3 victory points. It also should be noted, 1, elections and ward bosses, if the election is tied, there's no tiebreaker. The ward just there's no control over it. Or, in the case that there was somebody that was in control of it, they remain in control. For the mayor, if there comes down to 2 people that have the same number of votes, you simply just don't have a mayor. And so there's been a couple games I've played where they've had a situation where we've gotten to the first turn and the people tied for being a mayor, so we don't have a mayor, and so we go into the next phase without ever assigning any of these particular jobs. Now, since I mentioned the jobs, let me talk about them for a moment. The mayor, as I said, you score 3 victory points, but the mayor also gets wonderful, wonderful ability of handing out political appointments for the next term. They include the deputy mayor, the council president, the chief of police, and the precinct chairman. These are little extra abilities that you get when it's your turn during the next term. The deputy mayor allows you to take one political favor disc of any type each year. The council president, twice each year, whenever they get to place one of these silver discs, immediately when they place that on a disc, it locks down the area, meaning that no more ward bosses, no more cubes, no more nothing can be either taken and put in that location or taken out of that location. It locks it down. The chief of police, each year you can remove one immigrant cube from a ward and place it back in the bag. Basically, you're arresting some immigrants and throwing them out of the country. You can't remove the last cube from a spot, though, as the chief of police, but you can do that every year. And finally, the precinct chairman, each year you can move one immigrant cube from one ward to an adjacent ward. You can go across the black lines in this situation. But once again, you cannot remove the last cube from that. So now, you do that action when you're placing your ward bosses, or if you're taking one of these cubes in Castle Garden and placing it. That's an extra move you can make. Now, there's one final move you can make, and that is using your slander chips. Slander chips are these little black discs. Everybody gets 3 of them. You can do one slander action per term starting during the second term. So you get to use your 3 chips. One here, one here, one here. To slander someone is very simple. You just place it in the spot that you wish. You expend a political chip that matches a color of somebody that's in that location, and you can remove a ward boss of somebody else that's in that location. Basically, I don't know, you throw him out, or he's mugged, or who knows what. And he's removed from the game. Now, and this is the purple, so let's just have, for example, if there was a purple ward boss here and a purple ward boss here, you could slander this one and remove him, and then if there was another cube in a nearby ward that matched the cube, the disc that you spent to remove him, say there's a green, so you spent a green political favor to remove that ward boss. If there wasn't one adjacent, like here, and another cube that matched the same color, this green guy here, you could expend another 2 political favor chips to get rid of another ward boss. If you can match up and these things slide together like that, you can really play havoc with somebody by removing war bosses, removing their control of certain locations, and really weaken somebody. And when you slander somebody, usually that is a course of lots of cursing and demands for revenge in subsequent turns. So when you make sure when you do slander people, not only do you do it because it's a good idea, but do it because you want to see the reaction from your friend's face when you just screw them over. So that's how the game works. You gain those victory points by winning those elections, by controlling wards. You continue doing that until you get done with all 16 turns. At the end of the game, there's a few additional scoring things. Oh, I forgot one more thing. There's an immigrant leader over here for each nationality: Irish, English, German, and Italian. So when you get done with a term, what happens is that for each person that controls the most of each ward they control, there should be some cubes in there of different immigrants. If you control the most of a certain nationality, you become the immigrant leader for that particular nationality, and you immediately gain 3 more bonus discs of that nationality. If you tie with somebody, both of you get that. You get to both place your ward boss here. So like purple had that in charge. He would get then 3 extra orange discs after that election. That is where the number of the cubes in the wards comes into play. And that is extremely powerful and extremely useful for maintaining your power over locations that have the cubes in question that you've been placing in those spots so you can maintain your political favor and maintain your stranglehold, if you will, and the power of that ward. So, now then, after the end of the game, you get down to the 16th turn, you total up all the victory points, obviously, that you've gained as the game went on. You do a final election, so you can determine, who's going to get those last 3 victory points for being the mayor. And there's a few more little bonus points. The person who has the most chips of any color gains 2 victory points. If you tie those people that tie all of them, get 2 victory points. And each unused slander chip that you didn't use because you were a nice guy gets you 1 victory point at the end of the game. So you just you total up all of the points. You see who's ahead, and then they're declared the winner. If once again there's a tie as far as on the scoring track, you will go and see who had control of the most Irish, and then the English, and then German, and there's basically you use this track as a tiebreaker to determine who won the game. Now, that was a fairly lengthy going over of the rules, but once you've played the game and you've gone through a turn or two, especially gone through the first 4 and had an election, this game just snaps along, and it's very, very simple because of the fact that the options that you have and the things that you do are very limited, but they're very thought-provoking, and they're very powerful, and you need to make sure that you make because there's so few choices that you make. I mean, you're literally only taking 16 turns. You have to make sure that each turn counts, and you're doing the best possible job with the limited resources that you have available to you, and to try to get ahead of everybody and maintain that lead. Because let me tell you, if you jump out to an early lead, the rest of the players, if they know what's good for them, they will jump on top of you and bring you back down amongst the rabble, if you will. So, I really, really love the game. I enjoy the heck out of playing it, but let me tell you exactly why I enjoy the heck out of playing it. Alright, I'm not going to spin this game around like I do with my copies, because I'd really hate for the actual owner of this game to see me spinning it in my hand and having it smash to the ground, and I can just see him watching this video like, ah! Like that, So, I'm not going to do that like I kind of always do when I'm doing these videos. So, but anyway, what'd you think? Like I said, it's very, very simple. I mean, I guess the mechanics are simple. Wrapping your head around it, the basic strategies might take a game or two for it to click, because you have to figure out not only what color of those cubes that you want in each one of those locations, but also sometimes you want more of those cubes in those locations. And sometimes you have to figure out, how am I going to get, say, blue discs, because I desperately need them, or how am I going to get a orange cube into that ward, so all this political power, these political favor chips that I have at orange, are actually worth something for me. And so there's a lot of that going on in the game, and you would think maybe possibly there would be quite a bit of downtime because of analysis paralysis and everything like that, but I've really found that with all of my friends, and we all kind of learned the game together all at the same time, there really wasn't, because of the fact that the game is just really, really fast, because there isn't a lot of actions available to you. I mean, especially in the first 4 rounds, or the first 4 rounds of that first term, because of the fact that you haven't really handed out all the special abilities yet, because you haven't elected a mayor, and you can't slander anybody. So the first 4 turns of the game are either placing a boss and taking a cube from the cubes that are available, and then taking a political favor chip, or placing 2 bosses, so you can increase your votes. Now, once the game clicks for you and all the mechanics kind of just, you have that wonderful moment like I love in all games that I play, where it's just like all of a sudden, like all the mechanics just click in your head and you know how it works, and then the game can open itself up to you and all those cool moments and all those options and all those, the story of the game starts telling itself to you. That's when this game is amazing, and that's when all the double think and double bluff and like the arguments and the backstabbing and the unfortunate feeling of everybody's against me starts happening and closing in around you when you play this game. But that's the kind of game that I like. Now, I hope that after I showed you how to play the game, this is something you'll be able to see that and you'll be able to say, oh, okay, this is something I'd like. And but if you don't have any idea if this is a game you like, well, let me try to like convince you as far as whether or not it'd be a good fit for you and your group. Now, the really cool thing about this game that I found as I played it is that it kind of reminds me of Dominant Species. Now, and if you've watched my Dominant Species review, I really, really like Dominant Species. It's a great game. And a lot of people agree with me, obviously. A lot of people don't agree with me as far as Urban Sprawl goes, but a lot of people agree with me with Dominant Species. And if I had played this game prior to Dominant Species, I would be saying, wow, Chad Jensen, when he made Dominant Species, really tried to make a game like Tammany Hall. But I mean, and it's kind of that whole thing where you have to worry about, in Dominant Species, you have to worry about not only the different biomes to make sure that that those are things that you can have your cubes in, but also you have to worry about the dominance in that area and things like that. You have that two-pronged thing you have to worry about. And in this game, it's the same deal. You have to worry about the cubes and the color of the cubes and the number of cubes that are in those areas, but you also have to make sure that you have the chips that to back yourself up in those areas as well. It's not enough just to have a boss in those spots. You got to make sure that you can actually back up that boss with more political favor, or at least have the threat of that political favor. So when it comes up to your turn to vote for that ward, you have some sort of clout. You have some sort of ability to say, hey, I'll give you this ward, but you gotta not vote when it comes time around that, and you gotta then trust that person to not screw you over when that turn comes. And they have to trust you when you say, I'll give you this one to you, I'm not going to bid any chips. And that's where that great double think and double bluffing happens. And the whole thing, don't you screw me on this one. And those wonderful moments where the story of the game unfolds. Now, if your group does not like negotiation games, if they just want to play a game, and it's very possible, there's nothing wrong with that, but if they just want to play a game where it's multiplayer solitaire, and there's nothing wrong with that, trust me, I enjoy those games, where there's minimal player interaction, this isn't going to be a game for you, because this game is all about interaction. After the first 4 turns of the game, you are going to be butting heads like pretty much the rest of the game, and you're really butting heads the first 4, but not as bad. So if you are a group that holds over hatred from prior games to carry them over into other games later, and saying it's like, a week later after you're playing a couple games of Tammany Hall, you're playing Stone Age or something, and it's just like, remember a week ago when you screwed me over, and you take it out of that, this isn't gonna be a game for you, because that's revenge tactics are completely lame. Let's be honest. It's just like, it's a game. Get over it. But if you can relax and enjoy the game, and even if you do get kind of pounded by everybody else, but you can kind of enjoy it anyway, this is a game for you. And I lose 90% of the games I play. I'm guessing that's people just seem to be better at these. I introduced these games to my gaming group, but they just seem to be better at them than me. Go figure. But the thing is that even when I lose, I really have a good time, just because of the fact that I love making those decisions. I like playing the game. I like watching the game happen. And win or lose or draw, that's enjoyable to me. Now, a couple of caveats, if you will, or caveats, or caveats. I don't know. I should know more for being an English major, right? But anyway, the thing is that game does have a little bit of a problem when there is a disparity in the level of skill when it comes to the game. If you've played the game a lot and somebody who hasn't played the game, you're going to be a lot better because you're going to know what's going on. Because like I said, it does take you a little bit of time to wrap your mind around the strategies. Also, if you're playing the game and people don't realize that whoever is in the lead needs to get spanked by everybody else, and they're just like, I'm fine, I've got enough points, I'm in second, it's okay, you know, that's not going to work, because you need to go after the guy that's leading, and everybody needs to, like, you know, gang up on him, but at the same time, they need to be, like, looking out for themselves, and that's where the game starts to shine. So, the problem is that if you play the game without other people optimally going after the leader, then the leader's going to run away with the game. And by, like, the third term, they're going to be ahead of everybody by 10, 12 points. And because the game is very, very stringent with the points that it gives out. I mean, the best way to get points in the game is to be mayor, which is 3. And then the second is to be to take control of Tammany Hall, which is 2. And everything else is a point. I mean, so if, like, somebody is able to both take Tammany Hall and also be the mayor, I mean, that's 5 points. That's a huge number of points. And if they're able to do that a couple of times, yeah, you're kind of staring up at them, you know, as you're playing the game, and you're not going to be able to catch up. So if I can see where people wouldn't really enjoy the game if, like, they say, oh, there's a runaway leader problem. Well, there really isn't a runaway leader problem if you kind of play the game correctly. But, you know, and maybe that's inherently a slight issue with the game. I'll admit that. You know, I mean, I'll give it up on that. And I can see where people would have that sort of problem with the game. Now, other than that, I really don't have any issues with the game whatsoever. I mean, I think it's a fantastically fun game of matching wits with your friends and you know, just like being able to sit there and smile and, yeah, no, you can have it. I'm not going to vote 3 for that. No, it's all yours, buddy. And you, deep in your mind, you're putting 4 cubes in your other hand. No, let's do this. It's, okay, here we go. You know, that's where the game just shines for me, because when you turn your hand over and you reveal and you watch their face like, ah, you know, that's fun for me. And if that's fun for you, you're absolutely going to love Tammany Hall. So, go to the Kickstarter page, back it. Like I said, it's already funded. They're working on their stretch goals right now, so, you know, hopefully we'll get it to the point where, you know, we're gonna get lots of cool swag when it comes out. And, yeah, I mean, I backed it. I'm getting a copy. I can't wait. I'm really sad that I had to send this back because I've been enjoying the heck out of it. But, you know what? C'est la vie. He needs it for Origins. So if you're going to Origins, stop by the Pandasaurus booth. And you could probably maybe demo it or test it or play it and see what you think as well. But that's enough, out of me. That was Tammany Hall. I'm Untitled Viking. I will see you next time.